have a pretty fun Sunday night lined up. Like, we're gonna go with a lot of short videos. Generally, that's not what people like us take in. Tonight, we're going to. I spend a lot of time making these short videos. We're gonna display them in consecutive order. They do kind of tell a story. There's a lot of like self-promotion in these because like they're short. We're gonna go.
Hi everybody, I'm in Kuwait right now and we're at the Canadian Armed Forces base. The team here is working every day to keep regional peace and security and also protect our interests in the Middle East. And I wanted to thank all the Canadian Armed Forces personnel working here, but in particular, I would like to say thank you to all the women part of the Canadian Armed Forces and all our women diplomats around the world.
The reason why we're leaving Canada after living here for 6 years is mainly because it's not worth it anymore for us to be away from our family and not being able to visit them as often as we would want to, because of the high cost of living and everything else around. When we moved here, it was extremely painful for our parents. I know it was, even though they were excited for us and were very supportive, but it was very painful for them to accept the fact that their kid is moving away pretty much forever and they will only be seeing them maybe once a year, maybe twice a year max. But they knew it's all going to be worth it because based on our qualifications and our brains, we could do more with what we have somewhere in a first world country that is so much more advanced. And for them to see right now how Canada is struggling and seeing on TV how Canadians born and raised here are crying and not really knowing how to cope with the expenses and with the prices and everything, and the fact that I have been waiting for a doctor's appointment for 9 months, and the fact that we cannot leave our noisy downtown apartment because the rent has gone up astronomically, and a few other major issues that are not really being solved at all. It kind of made us all wonder, why are we here now, and why don't we try to live the best years of our lives somewhere where at least you can be closer to your family and freaking have some sun. Canada is a great country and we will miss it a lot, but you gotta do what you gotta do for your own happiness, you know? And I'll be documenting my journey so I have all the memories here in one place.
Question period. Canada and the House of Commons is heating up, gang. Check this out.
Member for Timmins, James Bay.
This government promised to ban the AR-15. That's the weapon that was used to murder 20 60-year-old children at Sandy Hook. And yet on Thursday, the Conservative leader was tweeting that the government wasn't going after the AR-15, but hunting rifles. So little wonder he gets endorsed by Alex Jones, who's notorious for taunting families and children murdered by the AR-15. So will the minister confirm, is the government going after hunting rifles or the AR-15, or is this the Conservative leader being the, quote, real deal of disinformation? Leader being the, quote, real deal of disinformation for the likes of Alex Jones.
What we're doing is taking away guns that were designed to kill people on the battlefield, and we're also prepared to compensate the people that bought those guns lawfully. It's something the Conservative Party will undo, and we're committed to keeping Canadians safe.
Like and subscribe. Get your Canadian politics right here. Everyone has an opinion about Canadian federal politics.
And a high-speed chase. That's the problem with policing nowadays. Like if they have someone in their sight, they will go all their ways. Like as long as they have you in sight to look for you, they will risk everybody else's. Like it's almost like they have this, when they have a criminal in sight nowadays, it's like they have this tunnel vision. Like it doesn't matter about other people anymore. Like 4 people died because they couldn't let go of a petty little LCBO thief that failed a rob.
Like and subscribe. Get your Canadian federal politics right here. Things really are heating up in Parliament, guys. You gotta see this one.
I'm glad that you find it funny, but this is a $60 million scandal. We have the RCMP kicking doors in because there is fraud and corruption and people who work in your department. And so just because they shuffle the deck chairs on the Titanic every couple of months, you're still responsible for the department. And so if your suggestion is that we need the former president of the Treasury Board to come and tell us what's going on in your department, then I'd appreciate that as a suggestion. It's Min Doan hired as the Chief Information Officer.
It is not my purview, Mr. Chair, in response to that allegation that I find this funny or that I in some way do not care about this issue. It is not my purview to oversee.
Like and subscribe. Get your Canadian federal politics right here. Things really are heating up in Parliament, guys. You gotta see this one.
8 years of Justin Trudeau, we're now seeing historic levels of corruption, with the House now using a power it hasn't used in 100 years to have Christian Firth of GC Strategies, which of course is Justin Trudeau's favorite two-person basement operation that was part of his $60 million Arrive scam. One of the principals of that company being called to the bar of the House of Commons. This is extraordinary, and as I said, a historic tool that's being used by Parliament. Why? Because we had a refusal to answer questions at a parliamentary committee, getting answers for Canadians about waste, corruption, and scandal. And this is at a time, of course, when Canadians are struggling to feed their families and pay their bills, and not a single Trudeau minister.
Like and subscribe. Get your Canadian federal politics right here. Everyone has an opinion about Canadian federal politics.
War has broken in Europe, in the Middle East, in Africa. Tensions are flaring in the Indo-Pacific, and each time we know that women are affected by conflict. Women are at the forefront of the consequences that are borne upon them because of their places within the family, because of the fact that they're taking care of children, but also because sometimes they're put into position where they're more vulnerable. Et donc c'est pour ça qu'on veut s'assurer que même s'il y a des crises un peu partout à travers le monde.
Like and subscribe. Get your Canadian federal politics right here. Everyone has an opinion about Canadian federal politics.
Guilty all the way down to all. I came face to face with Paul Bernardo. You will not believe how this guy is living. So for those who don't know, especially for younger people in Canada, Paul Bernardo is the worst of the worst. He was known as the Scarborough Rapist. He did unspeakable sex offenses against numerous women. Ultimately, him and his wife were responsible for 3 young women being killed. One of them was his own sister-in-law. Bernardo was eventually convicted for murder. He's serving multiple life sentences. He was also designated as a dangerous offender, which is the highest designation any criminal can receive in Canada. I'm a former Crown prosecutor, so I've seen a lot of evil in this world, but I can safely say this guy is the worst. So I've seen a lot of evil in this world, but I can safely say this guy is the worst of the worst. We do not believe he can ever be rehabilitated because his...
Like and subscribe. Like and subscribe. Get your Canadian federal politics right here. Question period Canada and the House of Commons is heating up, gang. Check this out.
For Brett.
I hope the government holds itself accountable. The Arrive scam merely scratches the surface of the rot and corruption in this NDP Liberal government. Their procurement system is seriously flawed and broken. For example, they paid KPMG, a consulting company, almost 700,000 taxpayer dollars to learn how to cut back on consultants. You can't make up this lunacy. They've learned nothing. The question is simple. They've learned nothing. The question is simple. In the budget next week, will we see a cut to all the corruption?
Just a few weeks ago, which found that rules were not followed by a few public servants. Fortunately, many of these rules have been updated, and regulations and expectations around the use of those rules have been clearly communicated to all relevant public servants.
Like and subscribe. Get your Canadian politics right here. Things really are heating up in Parliament, guys. You gotta see this one.
That was almost 2.5 years ago. When will you write the check?
It's not my check to write, but I will follow up with the officials under whose program this fits. We do run schools at Six Nations. That is not the only school in at Six Nations.
Why doesn't your minister, this is to Ms. Wilson, why doesn't your minister, Minister Haidu, have the professional courtesy to respond to members of Parliament who are duly elected to represent a number of Indigenous nations? Why do I have to plead and beg for a response? This is shameful. It is disgusting. This is shameful. It is disgusting. And I hope you relay the message directly to her, how disappointed I am in the way that she conducts her ministry.
Like and subscribe. Get your Canadian federal politics right here. Things really are heating up in Parliament, guys. You gotta see this one.
Taxing capital gains is not an inherently partisan idea. It is an idea that everyone who cares about fairness should support. In fact, the idea of taxing capital gains in Canada was first broached by the government of Prime Minister John Diefenbaker and his Royal Commission on Taxation, chaired by Kenneth Carter. And Prime Minister Brian Mulroney raised the capital gains inclusion rate to 75%, higher than the rate we're establishing today. Yet, I know, there will be many voices raised in protest. No one likes paying.
Like and subscribe. Get your Canadian federal politics right here. Things really are heating up in Parliament, guys. You gotta see this one.
Or partisan attacks against this Prime Minister's agenda. It's his fellow Liberals and New Democrats. It's his coalition partner who simultaneously attacks everything he does and then enthusiastically stands up to support it.
Young people see right through this Prime Minister. They know they're getting ripped off, and they know the reason for it. Today, rent is doubled, grocery prices are sky high, and we're paying some of the highest cell phone bills in the world. The reason is because of corporate greed. This Prime Minister refuses to take it on, and the Conservatives, they're afraid anytime we mention corporate greed because they want to defend those corporations. So when will the Liberals finally take...
He stands against seniors getting dental care, Mr. Speaker. He is choosing choosing to stand with the ultra-wealthy while we are investing in Canadians and building a stronger future that is fair for everyone.
Like and subscribe. Get your Canadian federal politics right here. Everyone has an opinion about Canadian federal politics.
It is. It's nothing like I've seen
like ever. It didn't used to be like this, I don't think. Like
no, the House is very, it's becoming a joke, and it's a shame. And it's a shame because it's our institution. And yeah, I'm glad you do this because you're getting the word out to everybody, and I think that's wonderful. everybody, and I think that's wonderful.
Well,
and I love
year since the NDP has asked him to reverse course on his and formerly their radical policy, 22 British Columbians have died of drug overdoses. But he continues to allow those drugs to kill the people in our hospitals and on our public transit. When will we put an end to this wacko policy by this wacko Prime Minister?
Like and subscribe. Get your Canadian federal politics right here. Things really are heating up in Parliament, guys. You gotta see this one.
The RCMP raided the home of the Prime Minister's top arrive scammer, Christian Firth. The raid is connected to a proposal that Firth's GC strategies sent to the Deputy Prime Minister and her former Chief of Staff, Jeremy Broadhurst. So, what communications did the Deputy Prime Minister and her office have with GC strategies regarding a proposal that has led to an RCMP raid?
Again, just because my colleague on the other side of the aisle repeats something doesn't necessarily attach it to the facts. The facts, Madam Speaker, in this case are well known. The RCMP, the one thing that he said is that's entirely factual is the RCMP are looking into this matter. And that's why I would urge people to be careful before they invent things and ascribe things to what is an ongoing police investigation.
Like and subscribe. Get your Canadian federal politics right here. Everyone has an opinion about Canadian federal politics.
A video where I sounded the alarm on a recent Supreme Court case decision that has made it infinitely harder for law enforcement to investigate and prosecute child predators. After I published my video, I saw a lot of comments from concerned Canadians about privacy rights, about the police state, and about warrantless searches. That's not what we're talking about here. This is about a Supreme Court case that has taken away an essential tool that's been used by police for many years to investigate and catch child predators. And now the Supreme Court decision, which wasn't even dealing with a case related to child pornography, has really made it so much more difficult for law enforcement to do this very important work. We are losing the battle against online child sex abuse. Since 2014, the number of cases in Canada have tripled. So I think we need to delve into this case a little bit more.
Like and subscribe. Get your Canadian federal politics right here. Everyone has an opinion about Canadian federal politics.
War has broken in Europe, in the Middle East, in Africa. Tensions are flaring in the Indo-Pacific, and each time we know that women are affected by conflict. Women are at the forefront of the consequences that are borne upon them because of their places within the family, because of the fact that they're taking care of children, but also because sometimes they're put into a position where they're more vulnerable. Et donc c'est pour ça qu'on veut s'assurer que même s'il y a des crises un peu partout à travers le monde.
Like and subscribe. Get your Canadian federal politics right here. Things really are heating up in Parliament, guys. You gotta see this one.
Demanding this, and I guess what I would say to everybody is, so Bill C-234 has to be passed in its original form in the budget that's coming up. That's why we're doing this video. We're challenging you to message every MP you know, every farmer you know, get them to reach out to their local media. I still think there's a disconnect. People don't actually understand how significant this is on their day-to-day life.
I really believe that people don't grasp the gravity of this carbon tax on your exactly right day-to-day life. It affects absolutely every facet of your life. Everything you own, everything you buy, everything you do is carbon taxed, compounded on top of more tax.
I don't even know that you can quantify the exact
I don't know
number.
how you could.
I actually don't think you can.
And it's really bad because we're trying to compete, of course, with every other country that doesn't have a carbon tax. Their products come in.
Like and subscribe. Get your Canadian federal politics right here. Things really are heating up in Parliament, guys. You gotta see this one.
Minister,
When did you first find out that a PRC diplomat was targeting me and my family?
I've learned it through the news.
Why is this diplomat still here?
So I knew you would be asking me this question because it's a valid question. And, you know, just to go back a second, I can only imagine the shock, the pain, the worry that you've gone through, dear Michael, due to the targeting of your family and loved ones. And so, as I mentioned earlier, on a personal level, and, you know, as Foreign Minister, I take this extremely seriously. You've asked me questions regarding foreign interference in the past. I've always said that, of course, we would never tolerate any. And second, we would make sure that, you know, if there was...
Like and subscribe. Get your Canadian federal politics right here. Everyone has an opinion about Canadian federal politics.
Clarify something. Ever since myself and Ezra Levin asked you a question earlier this week outside of the summit, our team had our media accreditation removed until we issue a legal demand letter in response. Today, for us to get inside this conference, I was lied about this conference to be postponed and to be changed, and nobody had get back to me. It was hard to get here. So how come the United Nations and yourself are not for press freedom? Our question is too hard?
I think I heard your colleague, Mr. Levin, thank the United Nations the other day in the press conference for taking his question. Obviously, Canada does not issue accreditation for media or for participant. This is...
Like and subscribe. Get your Canadian federal politics right here. Things really are heating up in Parliament, guys. You gotta see this one.
According to the Globe and Mail, you serve on the China Council for International Cooperation on Environment and Development, which is a government agency controlled by the Chinese Communist Party. Is that a conflict of interest with your role as a Canadian cabinet minister? And is it perhaps why you have really been gentle on China, even though it is by far the world's largest polluter, including with plastics pollution? Thanks again for letting me ask that question.
The Canada-China Council is an organization that has been in existence since, from memory, 1971 or 1972, and a succession of environment ministers.
Like and subscribe. Get your Canadian federal politics right here. Things really are heating up in Parliament, guys. You gotta see this one.
Everything, and keeps interest rates higher for longer. Ahead of this year's federal budget, common sense Conservatives have 3 demands to fix the budget. Number 1, axe a tax on farmers and food by immediately passing Bill C-234 in its original form. Number 2, build a homes, not bureaucracy, by requiring cities permit 15% more home building each year as a condition for receiving federal infrastructure money. And number 3, cap the spending money. And number 3, cap the spending with a dollar-for-dollar rule to bring down interest rates and inflation. The government must find $1 in savings for every new dollar of spending. We will not support the budget unless it axes the tax, builds the homes, and caps the spending.
Like and subscribe. Get your Canadian federal politics right here. Everyone has an opinion about Canadian federal politics.
If the radical left in this country has their way, then this video will be illegal. Because of what I'm about to say. The oil and gas sector provides jobs and employment for thousands of Canadians, including First Nations communities. That right there will land me in jail if the NDP have their way. Sound insane? Well, you're not wrong. But the NDP actually have a plan to jail people who speak positively about the energy sector. NDP Member of Parliament Charlie Angus. He is a veteran and a senior member of Jagmeet Singh's NDP team. You might remember him from some of these vile tweets he's put out. Or who can forget this incredible performance?
We're making the change and don't
Like and subscribe. Get your Canadian federal politics right here. Everyone has an opinion about Canadian federal politics.
Just recap the last week. You have a leader of the opposition who proactively visits and cultivates the support of white nationalist extremist groups, people who have threatened wars on LGBTQ communities, who have threatened to gang rape female journalists. This is not normal. What is also not normal, and which we should not overlook, is that just yesterday, with a wink and a nod, the leader of the opposition threatened to tear up the Charter of Rights. So it is no surprise that now, all jacked up on this very extreme rhetoric, the House of Commons turns into something quite unprecedented, where the opposition...
Like and subscribe. Get your Canadian federal politics right here. Everyone has an opinion about Canadian federal politics.
Canada has the highest debt-to-GDP ratio of any G7 nation. I don't know what that means, but it sounds bad. So does their vaunted healthcare system, which ranks dead last among high-income countries in access to primary health care and ability to see a doctor in a day or two. And it's not for lack of spending. Of the 30... And
Everyone has an opinion. Everyone has an opinion about Canadian federal politics.
Openness to addressing.
Everyone has an opinion about Canadian federal politics.
Justin Trudeau is talking about me today. Yeah. During a speech to his Liberal caucus, Trudeau referred to me as a twofer.
And now, Pierre Poilievre's new candidate in Durham is a twofer.
Now, I'm not exactly sure what that means in reference to a human being. I'm also not sure how the Prime Minister has time to be name-calling when he should be trying to save his failed administration. But I thought I would take this as an opportunity to introduce myself, since you certainly can't take Justin Trudeau's word for it. I'm recording this video where I live, the place I rent in Oshawa. I've lived in Durham region for years. In fact, I used to record a national talk radio show.
Like and subscribe. Get your Canadian federal politics right here. Everyone has an opinion about Canadian federal politics.
Hi everybody. So we are here gathered at a historic moment in the alliance. When Putin invaded Ukraine, he thought he would divide us. But the reality is, we are more united than ever. 3 reasons. First, well, we know that Finland has now exceeded the alliance. We're now 31 members. And as of last night, like the Secretary General of NATO announced, Sweden will be joining the alliance, which will bring us to 32 members. Second, well, we know that we have to continue to support Ukraine. At this point, we've supported Ukraine up to $8 billion in financial, military, and also humanitarian support.
Like and subscribe. Get your Canadian federal politics right here. With all of these Trudeau scams and scandals, Stephanie Kusi's trying to get to the bottom of affairs.
Yesterday, Christian Firth of GC Strategies confirmed his home was raided by the RCMP. GC Strategies proposed a contract to the Deputy Prime Minister's former Chief of Staff and current Liberal campaign director, Jeremy Brown. Campaign Director Jeremy Broadhurst. Wow. This contract led to Tuesday's raid on Christian Firth's home. So can the Deputy Prime Minister confirm her communication on a contract proposal that led to an RCMP raid yesterday?
Yeah. This is a matter under investigation, both internally and by the RCMP. It would be totally inappropriate for politicians anywhere in this House to try to pretend that they would be better than those partners and the RCMP to do that type of work.
Will we really get answers? Who knows? Like and subscribe. Canadian Federal Politics, right here. Things really are heating up in Parliament, guys. You gotta see this one.
I want to go into a piece of business I believe is very important for this committee, and not only for this committee, but for all Canadians. I believe it touches on a subject that we studied last year, very closely tied to the Arrive scam scandal, which I'm sure our witnesses here today have heard about. And that is the damning report of the Procurement Ombudsman regarding McKinsey. McKinsey, a company that has over $100 million in contracts with the...
We'll get to it, Mr. Bachrach.
Thank you very much. It is relevant. Thank you very much.
No, but it has to be an actual point of order. I'm waiting for that, Mr. Bachrach. Please continue, Mrs. Cusi.
Over $100 million in contract with this Trudeau government. But the most damning piece of this contract...
Like and subscribe. Get your Canadian Federal Politics right here. Question period Canada and the House of Commons is heating up, gang. Check this out.
Carbon tax by 23% on Canadians, on gas, on groceries, on home heating. He's doubling down and defying 70% of Canadians and 8 premiers who want him to axe the tax. 6 of those premiers wrote the Prime Minister asking for a meeting to talk about his punishing carbon tax. Instead, the Prime Minister just shot down the idea because they already had a meeting 8 years ago. Can the Prime Minister tell 8 years ago. Can the Prime Minister tell us how many premiers he met in 8 years ago? Can the Prime Minister tell us how many premiers he met in 2016 that are still in power today?
Cases across the country, 7 million children whose parents benefit from the Canada Child Benefit, a national school food policy. Their actions, Mr. Speaker, vote against funding to increase the number of spaces. Vote against a national school food policy, Mr. Speaker. They've made it clear they're not there for Canadian families.
Like and subscribe. Get your Canadian Politics right here. Question period Canada and the House of Commons is heating up, gang. Check this out.
Once again, he didn't answer the question, and I'm not really sure what that was, but if he won't listen to Canadians, and they won't listen to their NDP caucus, the Prime Minister won't listen to his successor, Mark Carney, who also wants him to meet with premiers. They won't give us a date. They won't give us a time. They won't tell us what channel to watch. The Prime Minister won't even show up here and answer to this motion. The Prime Minister is being defiant when Canadians are lining up at food banks in record numbers. What are you covering for?
Going with it. While maintaining our AAA credit rating, while maintaining the lowest debt to GDP ratio in the G7, and while maintaining historically low unemployment, Mr. Speaker, on this side of the House, we will always vote with Canadians and support them along the way. Thank you.
Like and subscribe. Get your Canadian Politics right here. Things really are heating up in Parliament, guys. You gotta see this one.
Our government has made the decision to stop investing in road infrastructure. You said you didn't say it. You clearly said it. You said you didn't mean it. So what is it that you meant by our government has made the decision to stop investing in new roads if you didn't mean that our government has made the decision to stop investing in new roads?
Merci pour la question. En fait, ce que j'ai déjà dit à plus...
Thank you for the question. In fact, what I've said several times, and I will repeat it here for the committee, I should have specified that these comments were made in the context of the third link in Quebec City, a project that the government of Quebec sometimes promoted, sometimes didn't. And this link would connect Quebec City and the South Shore of Quebec.
The bus on that. So I'll read the second thing that you said. The analysis that we have done is that the network...
Like and subscribe. Get your Canadian federal politics right here. Things really are heating up in Parliament, guys. You gotta see this one.
The problem is that nobody believes them anymore, and this budget is the opposite of fairness. It is unfair to saddle our kids with billions of dollars of debt that they'll be paying for years. It is unfair to force the inflationary spending onto grocery bills of every single family. It is unfair to keep interest rates high while millions struggle to pay their mortgages. The number of Canadians who can't afford to pay their bills has more than doubled over the last month. So will the Liberals finally fix the budget so Canadians can keep their homes, put gas in their cars, and put food on their table?
You have to be as a party to vote against feeding kids in school.
Right. Shame.
And that party over there has voted once already against the National School Food Program, and we've introduced it in Budget 2024, and we're going to see them vote.
Like and subscribe. Get your Canadian federal politics right here. Everyone has an opinion about Canadian federal politics.
Speaker, even for the Liberals, this is really something. It's a hat trick. 3 times, 3 different platform promises broken in one omnibus budget bill.
Good afternoon. I don't think I'm overstating it or being hyperbolic in saying that our democracy and our Parliament is at a perilous moment. And as Greens, Mike Morris from Kitchener Centre and myself just want, and we've been pleading with friends on all sides of the House, to pull back from taking this degree of deep partisanship and really dangerous levels of escalation of partisanship on all sides, to pull back, to step up, and to do what Canadians expect of us, which is to be grown-ups, to respect our institutions, to protect our democracy.
Like and subscribe. Get your Canadian federal politics right here. Things really are heating up in Parliament, guys. You gotta see this one.
Canadian farmers know this Prime Minister is not worth the cost. Over the last several weeks, I've received dozens of letters representing tens of thousands of farm families from right across this country. These are grain farmers, ranchers, mushroom growers, fruit and vegetable growers, provincial premiers, and agriculture ministers. They're unanimous. To ensure the sustainability of food production in Canada, they need the NDP Liberal Carbon Tax Coalition to reverse its 23% hike in the carbon tax and pass 234 in its original form. Will the Prime Minister ensure food and farming are affordable and pass 234 in its original form?
The Honourable Minister for Agriculture and Agri-Food.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker, and I appreciate my honourable colleague's question. And also with the advance payment program, it's putting at $250,000. All these things and many is putting at $250,000. All these things and many more.
Like and subscribe. Get your Canadian federal politics right here. Things really are heating up in Parliament, guys. You gotta see this one.
Emergency services disgrace, I will use those words, is why should we not be calling for the termination of yourself and all the other executive from your department? Repeated failures. All we hear back is there's much more to do.
So First Nation housing shortages and overcrowding have been widely publicized for many years.
Do you take any accountability for this?
We take responsibility for this program.
Do you take any accountability or responsibility for this?
I take responsibility for this, yes.
Let me ask you, I'm looking at your departmental results from last year, and to quote from the government site, departmental results inform parliamentarians and Canadians of the results achieved by government organizations for Canadians. Your department
Like and subscribe. Get your Canadian federal politics right here. Everyone has an opinion about Canadian federal politics.
If the radical left in this country has their way, then this video will be illegal because of what I'm about to say. The oil and gas sector provides jobs and employment for thousands of Canadians, including First Nations communities. That right there will land me in jail if the NDP have their way. Sound insane? Well, you're not wrong. but the NDP actually have a plan to jail people who speak positively about the energy sector. NDP Member of Parliament Charlie Angus. He is a veteran and a senior member of Jagmeet Singh's NDP team. You might remember him from some of these vile tweets he's put out. Or who can forget this incredible performance?
We're making the change. And
like and subscribe. Get your Canadian federal politics right here. Everyone has an opinion about Canadian federal politics.
Bonjour tout le monde. Hi everybody. So we are here gathered at a historic moment in the alliance. When Putin invaded Ukraine, he thought he would divide us. But the reality is, we are more united than ever. 3 reasons. First, well, we know that Finland has now exceeded the alliance. We're now 31 members. And as of last night, like the Secretary General of NATO announced, Sweden will be joining the alliance, which will bring us to 32 members. Second, well, we know that we have to continue to support Ukraine. At this point, we've supported Ukraine up to $8 billion in financial, military, and also humanitarian support.
Like and subscribe. Get your Canadian federal politics right here. Things really are heating up in Parliament, guys. You gotta see this one.
Who pays for this latest $50 billion orgy of spending by this costly Prime Minister? We know who won't pay. It won't be those with trust funds that protect their millions of inheritance like the Prime Minister, nor the billionaires that invite him to their private Caribbean islands. They'll hide their money. You know who will pay? You will pay. You, the welder. You, the welder or waitress who can't pay your mortgage because he's inflated the mortgage rates. You will pay because he carbon taxed your food.
So we can restore the dream, particularly for young people, of home ownership, of a brighter future that the world is taking away from people all over the world.
Like and subscribe. Get your Canadian federal politics right here. Everyone has an opinion about Canadian federal politics.
With or without a valid Canadian work permit. That's on the Government of Canada's website. Next, our energy. Recognize the logo? A general affairs specialist. Hardly some specialized worker from Korea that needs to come here. It's a, let's see, the state of the general affairs specialist. You will be responsible for various aspects of the company's operations, providing administrative and organizational support. Your tasks will be related to the efficient functioning of the office and ensuring smooth and daily operations of the company. Responsibilities, it says here: office management and organization, correspondence handling and mail management, coordination of meetings and events, administrative support for various departments.
Like and subscribe. Get your Canadian federal politics right here. Everyone has an opinion about Canadian federal politics.
I'm joined by Dr. Chris Darmett, who is an expert in plastics that doesn't believe in the ideology inside. Tell me who you are and what you stand for.
So I'm the author of The Plastics Paradox. I've got a PhD in polymer science, and I'm a crusader for truth. Let's not fight for political agendas or some end game. Let's first look at the evidence. I'm a scientist, right? So you have to look at the evidence and then make up your mind based on what the science says. So I read 4,000 peer-reviewed studies, unpaid, completely unfunded. I'm here on my own dime because I actually care about the truth and making decisions that make sense based on the truth. And I agree with what you just said. These people are just here for making money, making themselves feel important, and fighting for an agenda which ironically has the exact opposite effect of the intentions that they state up front. So that's a problem. They're saying that they're for the environment, and the things that they're suggesting are anti-environment and are scientifically proven.
Like and subscribe. Get your Canadian federal politics right here. One of the things that Canadians do have going for them is Donald Plett. He's a Canadian senator that does not like Trudeau, doesn't trust him.
Colleagues, Justin Trudeau is no Harry Truman. He is trying to put blame on everybody and everything else. The Liberals will deflect, obfuscate, and lie to cover up their ethical lapses. That also makes Canadians mad. Justin Trudeau will soon leave his role as Prime Minister, either because he may finally do the right thing and step down, or because Canadians will vote him out of office. One thing is sure, these scandals will be part of his legacy. Canadians will...
Donald Platt, he's a lot. My goodness, Trudeau has a lot of controversy. Like and subscribe, Canadian Politics, right here. It's really funny to see when PIERRE Poilievre has to be a politician. This is an example of that.
Today, Sikhs around the world celebrate Vaisakhi, honoring the rich tradition woven into the Sikh faith. Through the establishment of the Khalsa, Guru Gobind Singh Ji instilled principles of courage, service, and freedom that have echoed through the ages. For over 300 years, the five beloved ones have been honored in the hearts of faithful Sikhs who worked tirelessly to embody the courage and devotion they displayed centuries ago. Today, millions of Sikhs carry this legacy forward by wearing the 5 Ks and growing their devotion to seva through acts of service. Sikhs honor the foundational history that has shaped their community and helped shape our country. I extend my best wishes to all those celebrating. Happy Vaisakhi.
Like and subscribe. Get your Canadian politics, the federal stuff, right here. It's very easy to tell things in Canada are very bad. It's heating up in Parliament. Check this out.
But if you were hoping for some interest rate relief today as a mortgage holder, as someone with a small business loan or a line of credit, you got some bad news that the Prime Minister is not worth the cost. Rates are staying high long because, as the Governor of the Bank of Canada said, if government spending grows, then interest rates will have to stay high to combat the resulting inflation. Why won't the Prime Minister accept my common sense plan to fix the budget with a dollar-for-dollar law to bring down rates?
Low unemployment. At the same time, we have a national school food program on the table of $1 billion, Mr. Speaker, supports for childcare and early learning, as well as for renters and homeowners. That's what we do on this side of the House. Every day is a great day to fight for Canadians.
Like and subscribe. We have a blast. Get your Canadian federal politics right here. Things really are heating up in Parliament, guys. You gotta see this one.
When will we put an end to this wacko policy by this wacko Prime Minister?
No. That is not There are a couple of things which are going on here today, which is not acceptable. And I ask all members, please, to keep themselves, to control themselves. I'm going to ask 2 things. One, I'm going to ask the Honourable Leader of the Opposition to withdraw that term, which is not considered parliamentary.
Mr. Speaker, I replace wacko with extremist. He is an
The honourable member to please. I'm going to ask.
Like and subscribe. Get your Canadian federal politics right here. Things really are heating up in Parliament, guys. You gotta see this one.
This Prime Minister is not worth the cost of interest. According to Scotiabank, the Prime Minister's deficits are adding 2 full percentage points extra in interest costs. For the average family. That works out to about $6,000 for a modest mortgage of $300,000. $6,000 in extra mortgage payments from these deficits these deficits alone, will they finally wake up to the fact that this NDP Liberal Prime Minister is not worth the cost?
Program. He continues to oppose measures that are helping students with the cost of their education and the families with the cost of housing. Mr. Speaker, we will continue to put measures on the table to make life more affordable for middle-class Canadians and do right by a generation of young people who've been priced out of the housing market. It's a shame his policies would have the exact opposite effect.
Hear, hear.
Like and subscribe. Get your Canadian federal politics right here. Things really are heating up in Parliament, guys. You gotta see this one.
Who's ready to fix the budget? Who's ready to stop the crime? We're going to axe the tax. Yes.
How is the federal government going to support community colleges and not just universities in research funding so that we can really look to the future?
Yes, I want colleges to get their fair share. Too long, we put everything in universities. And the problem is with that, I went to university, I've got nothing against university. But frankly, what we need now, as I said in my speech, is more boots and less suits. We need the practical people. The tradespeople are going to rule the world. I really believe that. I'm not just saying that because I'm standing in front of the tradespeople. The practical knowledge, the know-how, is what is going to build our economy and put paychecks.
Like and subscribe. Get your Canadian federal politics right here. Things really are heating up in Parliament, guys. You gotta see this one.
Magazine called The Economist. They actually tweeted it out because it was so astonishing, even though it has been largely suppressed by the state-controlled and state-funded media here in Canada. After 8 years of Trudeau, we have 10 encampments in every major city. Halifax has 35 homeless encampments alone. After 8 years of Trudeau, we see 26 international students crammed into the basement of one home in Brampton. And the guy who screwed up the immigration system to cause that mess, Sean Fraser, is now in charge of housing. After 8 years of Justin Trudeau, it takes 25 years to save up for a mortgage for the average down payment for the average family in Toronto.
Like and subscribe. Get your Canadian federal politics right here. Everyone has an opinion about Canadian federal politics.
Someone receiving benefits does not answer the phone when called for work, their benefits are cut off. These workers are on call 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. We are now joined by Mrs. Marie Morrissey.
Yes, I went out to the freaking drive-in mass!
We are also joined by the community's unemployment claims officer, Mr. Gerard Morrissey. Now, Mrs. Morrissey, moving to you. You've been taken off unemployment insurance. Why is this?
Look, I stepped out there freaking store for 5 freaking minutes for a bottle of drink.
You weren't gone for 1 minute, you were gone for 2 hours. I know, because I called.
All right. I stopped and had a tray of Daphne's and I had a puff bar and a Cola Light.
Daphne, what do you drink Cola Light for? It's still cold. Look at the size of you.
If I could interrupt there, Mrs. Morrissey, you were not available to answer your phone when your previous employer called offering you 1 4-hour.
Like and subscribe. Get your Canadian federal politics right here. Things really are heating up in Parliament, guys. You gotta see this one.
For 9 years, Canada's emissions are rising and the Liberal carbon tax is making life unaffordable. On April the 1st, the NDP Liberals increased the carbon tax, and across the country today, Canadians are paying way more at the pumps. Many Canadians who have been struggling to pay their bills throughout the cold and dark winter, who might have been planning a summer road trip, might not be able to afford it now. Why are the NDP Liberals giving Canadians a cruel summer instead of axing the tax?
Here, here.
The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary.
I think it's important that we be clear. Under the previous Conservative government, emissions were on the way up with no plan to bring them down.
Right.
We are on track to meet our 2026 targets. No plan to bring them down.
Right.
We are on track to meet our 2026 targets. We are on track to meet the Paris targets. We are taking the action needed to reduce emissions. But more than But more than that, if we're going to talk about affordability, let's talk about an economist from Calgary who's...
Like and subscribe. Get your Canadian federal politics right here. Things really are heating up in Parliament, guys. You got to see this one.
The people of the world who have had experience, the Eastern Europeans who had to live under the dark umbrella of communism, those who have escaped tyrannical regimes, that lady you had on from South Korea, when they come over here now and they see what we're doing with our freedoms, which is essentially turning them upside down and mocking them, and under the name of political correctness or wokeism, insisting, pushing, propagandizing, evangelizing these toxically stupid ideas, and perverting the education system, and perverting the education system in their Putin and the warriors of the world, as Edward Lutwak calls them, they're laughing their heads off because they know this is a form of almost collective dementia.
Like and subscribe. Get your Canadian federal politics right here. Things really are heating up in Parliament, guys. You got to see this one.
You know, over the years, I've noticed something about Justin Trudeau and how he attacks his enemies. He accuses his political enemies of the very thing that he himself is guilty of. It's like if he stole a bag of apples, he'd stand up the next day and accuse his opponents of being an apple thief.
While the Conservative leader is muzzling his own caucus and putting himself first, we'll keep putting Canadians.
This one is just too easy. He walked into it. He had to muzzle a member from Newfoundland who called for an end to his leadership, joining another senator who did the same.
It's a crazy time in Canada, right? As we learn about these Canadian federal politics right here on Question Period Canada. My name's Ehren. Let's get into this crazy video, man. It doesn't slow down in Canadian federal politics. Let's take a peek.
Year-old Catalea is now worried about visiting local parks after being pierced by a discarded needle at Hollinger Park.
She's several times came up to me, Mom, there's needles. Mom, look, there's a needle. Kids don't need to see that at a park. It's supposed to be for the children.
A 2-year-old child found a syringe around a play structure and put the needle in her mouth around 11:30 a.m.
A playground where hundreds of children play is getting a lot of attention after needles were found, resulting in some kids getting pricked by the drug paraphernalia. These photos of used needles and other drug paraphernalia scattered on the Trans-Canada Trail.
A South Surrey man is warning other dog owners after his Labrador nearly died of a fentanyl overdose. The dog had to be revived with naloxone after somehow inhaling or ingesting the deadly drug while out for a walk.
The SPCA says they are hearing of more and more pet overdoses, and they're warning pet owners what to watch for.
Coquitlam CMP are warning the public after a puppy was poisoned by toxic drugs at a local park. Wag, a 4-month-old Heartland Terrier puppy, is recovering after his nose touched a suspicious substance while on a walk with his owner in a wooded area of Monday Park.
So yes, come and join the gang. I'm Ehren. This is Question Period Canada. We do wonder about a lot of things here. We have a fun community where we watch the live question periods daily. That's a great time. Come and check out one of the live shows. We make all these other videos. If you see something above 8 minutes, I'll make a comment. If not, I'm just gonna show you what I'm learning. You can judge for yourself. That's the idea. I care about Canadians in the grocery store lineups that can no longer afford their bills, and that's what we're doing. We're trying to learn about Canadian federal politics right here. Like, learn, subscribe, share, get notified. Getting notified is important for those live shows. It really is. You'll enjoy the community. Anyways, crazy times in Canada. Till the next video, thank you for watching this one. Have something healthy to eat. Try to stay warm. We'll catch you next one. Thanks for watching this. Ciao. Everyone has an opinion about Canadian federal politics.
Someone receiving benefits does not answer the phone when called for work, their benefits are cut off. These workers are on call 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. We are now joined by Mrs. Marie Morrissey.
Yes, I went out to the freaking drive-in mess.
We are also joined by the community's unemployment claims officer, Mr. Gerard Morrissey. Now, Mrs. Morrissey, moving to you. You've been taken off unemployment insurance. Why is this?
Look, I stepped out the freaking store for 5 freaking minutes for a bottle of drink.
You weren't gone for 1 minute, you were gone for 2 hours. I know, because I called.
All right. I stopped and I had a tray of Daphne's and I had a puff bar and a cola light.
Daphne, what do you drink?
A puff bar and a cola light.
Daphne, what do you drink cola light for? It's still cold. Look at the size of you.
If I could interrupt there, Mrs. Morrissey, you were not available to answer your phone when your previous employer called offering you 1 4-hour...
Like and subscribe. Get your Canadian federal politics right here. Things really are heating up in Parliament, guys. You gotta see this one.
For 9 years, Canada's emissions are rising and the Liberal carbon tax is making life unaffordable. On April the 1st, the NDP Liberals increased the...
Things really are heating up in Parliament, guys. You gotta see this one.
From farmers, small businesses, and consumers across Canada, they're not going to axe the tax, and they're not going to bring back Bill C-234 in its original form to bring real relief at grocery stores across Canada. More than half the premiers in Canada have called for the federal government to axe the tax because premiers know what everyday Canadians know, that they can't afford more tax increases. And just last week, the government increased the carbon tax by 23%, making your gas, your groceries, and your cost of living go up. And number 2, they're not going to provide small businesses with their promised carbon tax rebate. In 2019, when the Liberals announced the carbon tax, they promised over $2 billion in rebates to small businesses that account for 40% of...
Like and subscribe. Get your Canadian federal politics right here. Things really are heating up in Parliament, guys. You gotta see this one.
Which is not considered parliamentary.
Mr. Speaker, I replace wacko with extremist. He is an
The honourable member to please... I'm going to ask the Leader of the Opposition once again to just withdraw that comment, please. And I'll invite the honourable member... I'm going to ask the Honourable Leader of the Opposition to please withdraw that comment and simply withdraw that comment.
I'll replace it with radical taxes policy.
I am not asking to replace. I'm asking the Honourable Member to just simply withdraw.
Like and subscribe. Get your Canadian federal politics right here. It's not going to be news to anybody here, but Justin Trudeau has lost his mind. Before now, he lost his mind a while back.
Everywhere I go, all across the country, Canadians tell me they want change, real change. And I've been listening. When you look out at the economy these days, it just doesn't feel very fair. With inflation, with high housing costs, with so much uncertainty.
Canadians, yeah, grocery bills suck. Rent sucks. Mortgage renegotiation, oh my God, how are we going to deal with it? Like, these are real fears.
It's time for a real change. Liberals have the plan to make that happen. We hope you can join us.
Like and subscribe. Canadian politics right here. We need an election. Get notified. Share this video. Are we out of videos? Did we run out of videos? It only took an hour. Big surprise. So, my name's Ehren. This is Question Period Canada. That's an introduction to just the tip of the iceberg of what we're trying to do here. We started out making those funny shorts. We're trying to make real videos now. Mostly like being funny in between, but you know, something real is going on in our country, guys. And I'd like to share what I'm seeing with you because I'm watching all of it. And when I watch it by myself, sometimes I think, like, you're going insane, Ehren. No, but, like, it's going insane. And Ehren, Question Period Canada, like, subscribe, share. It's a blast. We have a great time here. Every weekday we watch the Question Periods together. We watch that live broadcast in real time with a very pleasant chat room. Like, of people that are kind of, if you're watching this by now, then you're probably going to enjoy the chat room that we have during the question periods. Like, if you want to get caught up, have questions, people there will answer that. Like, answer any of those questions. That's it. Ehren, Question Period Canada, gotta run. It's been a fun Sunday night. Those are a lot of short videos. I can't believe I made that many. Whoa, I've got way more than that too. That's just a small sample. We're going to run for now. Thank you guys for watching. We're back tomorrow afternoon with Question Period. It's going to be fun. I doubt Trudeau's going to show up, but I'm pretty sure Poilievre will. So we'll check that out. Later, gang. Thanks for watching. We'll catch you tomorrow. Question Period Canada. Like, subscribe, get notified, all that fun stuff right here. Canadian federal politics. All right, later, gang.